Hello, farmers! Welcome to another episode of everyone's favorite podcast, The Harvest Season. My name is Raschelle.
And my name is Al.
And today we're going to talk about mostly not farming games.
Woo! I feel like we should maybe not refer to ourselves as a farming game podcast and just like a games we like podcast.
No, we're a farming game podcast.
That also talks about other games.
We've already heavily invested. Our picture is of corn.
Yeah.
Al.
Yeah.
It's corn.
Okay, how about games that have some sort of growing plant that you take out the ground? It's catchy.
Yeah, it's almost as catchy as the harvest season. We talk about.
It's fine. We can just keep it as it is and just discussions about the nature of genres in games.
My 3-hour lecture was not enough for you today, I suppose.
I thought it was a discussion rather than a lecture, but okay.
I mean, I'm just going off based off of like the number of words that I typed. For our dear listeners who have never seen me rant about anything, I am known for my walls of text. Just endless walls of text.
To give that a little bit of context, sometimes Raschelle will say that she's about to talk about something and then half an hour later you're like, has she forgotten? No, she's just been typing and editing and then suddenly it'll just come. Do you use an external editor for these walls of text? Because like you're not constantly typing on Slack. Slack just stops, unless Slack gets bored and says, oh, I don't care whether she's typing anymore.
Honestly, what it probably is, I very rarely use an external editor or like a notepad or something. Usually what it is, if I pause for a minute, is that I'm looking something up.
I must have just been looking at the times that you weren't typing then, because you started typing and then Slack stopped saying you were typing and I never saw you typing again until the wall of text appeared. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird though, because I was on and off typing. A lot of diction is really hard. A lot of the time, I'm usually like looking up a word that I never formally learned to make sure it actually means what I thought it means.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like,
normally I don't do that and someone just picks me up on it and then I'm like, oh, I've been using that word wrong for 10 years. Great.
Yeah. I have literally never had that happen, and I am constantly terrified of that happening. So I very, very, very frequently just like my entire like search history, if I had a search history, would be just like random word, random word, random word. Where's the nearest hot dog store? Random word. Like, I have a very strange search. Actually, more realistically, it's more like, where's that one YouTube video?
Yeah, I love when you're trying to search for something and you're like, oh, I can't really remember the right words to search for this. And so you just kind of search random words that might be related to it. And eventually you figure out the right combination to find what you want. It's like when I'm trying to find, because I always find this when I'm trying to make a meme, right? And you've seen a meme and you're like, oh, remember that there was that meme that had like this dude and he was doing a thing and you're like just trying to describe it to your search engine.
Yeah, and so you're just like typing in like meme of dude doing thing and
little girl smashing a thing or
like there's like
just random things.
Big mood all the time.
Good fun.
The harvest season.
Yeah.
We're so good at this. I hope you guys are ready for our super extra special game review episode.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the usual stuff real quick. We're going to do some feedback, some news, what we're playing, and then we're going to hit our main topic, which is our review of the game Factory Town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah. Which is out now, even as we record.
Early access?
Out for early access on Steam.
Which is different than out.
Well, I mean, nowadays it basically means the same thing because all games do that now.
Okay. So,
Feedback. So, we like your feedback. Thank you all for your feedback. Thank you to Farmer Ben for your email. We always enjoy getting emails from Farmer Ben, especially as this time we have been informed that it's now spring. Well, I might have read a little bit into that because he didn't actually say it was spring. However, Farmer Ben is now planting spring crops, so I'm going to take that as it is spring, as I hear the windows in my house rattle from the massive storm that we currently have.
It's spring, and I'm going to choose to believe that it is spring, even though a good portion of my state is under a winter storm warning.
A spring storm.
Spring. Thank you for the news of spring, Farmer Ben.
That's all our feedback for this
I think
episode.
that's all we got. The farm pals got to send us in more emails.
It makes Raschelle very happy.
Mm-hmm. You know what else makes me happy?
Oh, no, you just stole my segue. Oh.
You know what else makes me happy, Al?
Donuts.
Hearing what games you've been playing.
Well, I've been playing a game that you might have heard of called Factory Town.
Anything else?
I have been playing a lot of Magic online, Magic the Gathering, because apparently I'm obsessed with that. And the good thing about it is that I can play with one hand, which is useful when you have a 4-month-old who just wants to be held in the evenings. So I have my standing desk and my computer with Magic Arena on it, and I will hold Craig to make him happy, and I can play with one hand. So that is very useful. Not many games you can actually play with one hand with a baby in the other. So that's been useful. It's really bad. I've been playing ranked battles, and I am now on the bottom gold level. So that is far too much I've been playing. I think that's all, really. Factory Town.
How long have you been
Magic.
Playing Magic the Gathering?
Oh yeah, I've not really brought that up, have I? Not very long. Probably since about October last year.
Have I ever told you about my experience playing Magic the Gathering?
I don't think so.
This was back when I was a teenager. I used to go to a game shop that did Friday Night Magic, and I had a pretty fun time, and I started really getting good at it, but this really creepy older dude would always hit on me.
Why does it always end up with a creepy older dude?
Oh, it gets better. And then I think I was like 16, and I went, and for the first time ever, I won the little tournament of the night. And I was super happy and proud of myself. And at the end, while I was waiting for my ride to pick me up to go home, because this guy was the final person I had beat in the tournament, he came up and came up behind me and went, "If you ever embarrass me like that again, I'll effing kill you." And walked away. And I literally have never played Magic since. Sexism in gaming.
Wow.
So
that's very sad.
It's very sad.
I do not like that story.
Sorry.
I'm sure you like it less, having lived through it.
I mean, I like it less, but I've got a rap sheet of just everything I've ever had happen. But Magic's so fun. I'm glad
I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad you're enjoying Magic. All of this horrible story is to say, I'm glad you're enjoying Magic the Gathering.
We have a little, a wee league that we play at work.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that's only really during lunchtimes, and apparently, 5 matches a week is not enough to, settle my cravings.
Yeah.
And I guess also, the good thing about I presume you've never played on the Arena,
no.
the online app, if you've not played in a while. The good thing about the app is if you just keep playing, you end up getting a whole bunch of free boosters, and decks as well and stuff. So you can easily create really good decks without paying any money, which is obviously very useful.
Super exciting.
And if you buy, so I've been buying the Planeswalker decks and using them. And if you do that, you get a code to get the Planeswalker deck in Arena as well. So that's a really nice touch. And I've been enjoying doing that.
Nice. What colors are you playing?
I've had 2 decks recently, one of which I was not a huge fan of, and I've stopped playing because I can't be bothered making it any better when it's bad. That was a blue-white. I just couldn't get the hang of it. And I've been playing a black-green deck, which I've been really enjoying.
That's fantastic. My last deck, I actually think I might still have it. I'm pretty sure I still have all my old Magic cards. It was a white-green token deck that, like, if it played bad, it just did okay. But if it played really well, I could, like, do triple-digit damage in a single turn. So,
Wow. Yeah.
I miss Magic. Anyway, I've not been playing Magic recently.
What have you been playing then, Raschelle?
Well, other than Factory Town, which...
We'll get into that. Don't
We'll
give
get
that
there.
bit away.
We'll get there. I actually haven't played any other video games. I did go to my local board game meetup. That was fun. What did I play? I played The Mind, which is like you're not allowed to talk to each other and you get a random set of cards numbered 1 to 100 and you're trying to go from the lowest to the highest.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
I've not actually played it. Was it good fun?
It was actually really fun. I liked it a lot. We played a single round of The Masquerade, which would have been better with more people. We played a neat little game that was a deck builder called The Quest for El Dorado. That was pretty fun. But my ultimate favorite was Broom Service, which is about witches delivering potions.
Of course you'd like that.
Yeah, it's really cute. But it was just like, it was a super fun little game. I believe it won one of those fancy board game awards. Anyway, this is not Raschelle's board game podcast, so that's what I've been playing.
Although, maybe if we decide we want to create another podcast, maybe some board games. I do enjoy a good board game. You can teach me about how I'm wrong about board games as well as farming games.
Oh my God. Okay. No, I'm actually... I'm not as into the board game scene as I would like to be. I do own Tamagotchi, the board game.
Yeah, I'm. You know when you're not surprised that something is a thing, but also you wonder why you're not surprised, and yeah. Let's not talk about that just now, but I will have questions for you after we've recorded the podcast.
Okay, moving on.
Yes. So, that's what we've been playing.
How about some news?
News? But Raschelle, there's never any news.
There's never any news.
Never.
There's especially never any news that I find interesting. For example... There's definitely not news about a game called The Good Life.
The Good Life. What's this then?
I think this looks really, really cute, and I'm actually really excited to see this getting off the ground. I think they might have tried once before and it didn't take, but I think it's doing better this time.
I've certainly seen a lot of people talking about it, so. Yeah.
It is a quote from the creators, a debt repayment daily life RPG, where you're a photographer and you're trying to pay off your student loans. And this is automatically way too real.
Well, it's not real for me because, I don't have any student loan.
I mean, I also don't have any student loans, but that doesn't mean I can't empathize with other people who are suffering.
That's true.
Did you know that the student loan value in the United States is like larger than entire industries here?
That sounds healthy.
Yeah, it's great and not at all going to cause any problems in the future.
Oh, careful. It's almost turning into Alan Raschelle talk about politics. That happens in the pre-show.
So in this game, you're a photographer and you're sent on an assignment to go to this idyllic little town.
Village. I think it's very specifically a village, and it's in England.
I think it's very... Well, okay, fine. So I was going to say
sorry.
that, but then you cut me off. It's fine.
Sorry. You sighed.
No,
you sighed.
You're sent to go take pictures of this place. And then there's also like a mystery you can solve while you're there. I know what the mystery is.
Oh, don't tell me.
Okay, I won't tell you. But
I'm probably never going to play this game, but still don't tell me, just in case.
No. I'm actually excited for this game. So like the gameplay is like you go around and you take photos of things and you upload them to like a little essentially fake Instagram, and you get currency based on how many like likes and stuff you get and stuff like that.
It's so ridiculously cute.
And you can take certain pictures will like affect your relationship with the townspeople. Like if someone doesn't want their picture taken and you take their picture, they don't like you. Like there's a mystery involved. You do quests and stuff. It's really cute. I'm really excited. I really hope this gets off the ground and I can play it.
Yeah, it looks like the Kickstarter was funded with some large amount of Japanese money.
Are you
£500,000 apparently? That's.
How many is that in USA money?
Probably about $600,000. Okay, 727,842.
That's what I'm talking about.
So quite a chunk of money. So I reckon they're probably going to be good to release, which apparently is going to happen in November this year.
I hope so. I'm rooting for
it does
him.
look fun. I'm not sure whether I'll ever actually buy this and play it. I'm glad it exists because I'm sure many people will enjoy it, and I like this sort of idea. But I've got too many games to play already.
I'm incredibly excited for this game.
I think it's quite cool because so I watched one of the videos of one of the creators talking through some of it, and it seems like you can either, do what the newspaper asks you to and investigate the mystery, or you can just go around helping out the townspeople. And like there's in the video of the gameplay, they were showing like you go up to this woman and she's like, "Oh, my husband's the vicar and he's a drunk. Can you prove to me that he's drinking so that I can get him to stop?" And you go and take a picture of him drinking. But what was quite interesting was the guy knows when you're watching him and he hides the drink. So you kind of have to get into a position where you can take a photo without him seeing you, which is quite interesting. So it's not just simple go take a picture. There is some kind of strategy to it as well.
Yeah. I'm excited for this game. You don't have to play it. I'll just play it and tell you about how much you're missing out. Don't worry.
It's coming out on Steam and PS4.
Yeah. I can play it on at least one of those systems.
Yes. Next up, we have a little bit more information on Forager, which is a game that I'm really looking forward to. It will be coming to mobile as well. And I think this is the first information we've had on this, because previously it was just coming to PC and consoles, but now it looks like it's coming to, not just looks like, it is coming to mobile devices, although he's not confirmed whether it's iOS and Android or one or the other. But yeah, so that looks fun. I will probably still just buy it on the Switch and play it on that, but that's good that there are more devices that people can play it on if they want to, if you don't have a console or a computer. Another game that I know you're very excited about.
Y'all want some Farm Folks news?
Farm Folks. You always make me question my pronunciation of folks.
Folks?
Folks.
Folks?
Farm Folks.
Your pronunciation is valid, no matter what my pronunciation is.
I know, but you it's not about you make me question whether it's right, you make me question what I say. So I hear you saying the word and I'm like, wait, how do I say that anymore? I can't remember.
Life is cruel. I say farm folks and I say y'all, not to sound like a farmer, but because it's a good word.
It is a useful word.
It's a very useful word. Farm Folks has released a development roadmap So there's a schedule out that you can look at of their plans for what they need to finish when. It goes by month. It has things listed as...
It's very detailed as well.
It's very detailed. And
like, I think this is the
scroll...
most information I've seen any kind of games developer give out before release.
Yep. They have bug fixing at the end 4 times.
They've obviously made a game before.
Yep. And then if you scroll all the way to the end, the very last thing is in December, and it's the release. So they're hoping to release in December. Hopefully they get there. It's a little more reasonable than their last release estimate. So that's exciting.
It is. Always good when someone commits to a release date. Well, no, not always good. Always interesting when someone commits to a release. We shall see what happens. We wish them luck to do that.
It's nice to see that they have like a legit plan with a whole bunch of stuff thought through.
Agreed.
And last but not least...
Yes, I love the look of this game. This game is called Islanders. It was announced on yesterday? Yesterday.
I don't know. Time isn't real. It was announced before this podcast was recorded.
It was announced on the 11th of March. It's a city building game on an island.
A randomly generated island.
A randomly generated island. Well, not just with the terrain, but also they seem to have different climates.
Uh-huh.
And you can even have archipelagos. So you can, have your multiple islands and build between them. And there seem to be lots of different things you can build, including platforms to extend the islands and join islands. And this looks like it's a really lovely looking game. Yeah, it looks really nice. And yeah, just what we need, another game to play. It has a score thing, which is interesting. Looking like it has different levels and you can level up. I presume that changes what you can access to build. But it's like, I know a lot of these city builder games have that sort of thing, but they don't tend to make it so visible. And this is just like a little circle with the score, which I quite like.
I mean, I'm wondering if the score is like a currency.
Interesting.
Unit?
I'm not sure. It could be, I guess, but all the videos I've just seen it go up when you build something. So I'm looking at the video just now and it goes up when you build something rather than down.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if like you can unlock different things to build at like X score, if that makes sense. Like currency, not in the sense of like you actively spend it, but in the sense of like you have to have it to get new things. Yeah,
so just a way to unlock things by how much score you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. We will.
I don't know. We'll see.
It comes out soon.
It looks real good.
It comes out on the 4th of April.
That's very soon.
That's
in less than a month.
And it must be ready.
It looks
because they've not said anything about it before now, and it's coming out in April. So,
yeah, they're just trying to surprise you with it.
Yeah,
which I am quite delightfully surprised with. So,
me too.
Heck yeah, it looks so nice. It has this like really nice, like almost like minimalist kind of aesthetic to it, but it's like the color palette is so good.
Yeah. Watching the video again, you seem to be able to put these platforms not only over the sea, but on like the side of cliffs and stuff like that. So they've got these platforms jutting out from cliffs with buildings on them, which is just feels so unnecessary, but also really nice in that I just want to do that. I want to just have this massive cliff and build a town up a cliff.
It looks so good. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a sucker for like a really good game aesthetic. It doesn't matter how bad or boring the game is. If it looks nice, I will play it for hours.
Especially if it's one of these games that, like a city builder where you're directing it, but it still runs without you doing anything, and so you can just sit and watch it if you want. Which
I have problems with. It's fine. Yeah, you want to talk?
Speaking of city builders. There. I did a segue.
Okay. It was a beautiful segue. I know I briefly talked about this last episode, but like there are certain genres of games that I want to say have problems with, but not in the sense of like I dislike them, more in the sense of like this is a dangerous addiction kind of a thing. And City Builders is one of those types of games. I definitely at one point played this game for 9 consecutive hours without moving or eating or drinking anything. How about you?
I certainly didn't do that. But I reckon part of that is to do with my life and the fact that I have kids. To be totally honest, if I was, back when I was in uni, I would probably have done the same thing. I do remember playing, Minecraft for 12 hours straight, easily. So I probably would have done it in that sort of situation if I was a single person without, kids that complain about not having food and stuff like that.
I can't believe you valuing your kids being fed over playing video games. Factory Town!
Yes. So I guess we should probably, just before we get into it properly, we should probably point out that this game, the codes for this game were provided to us by the developers so that we could review it. We will have a link to the Steam page in the show notes. So if you want to have a look at it or buy it, go there. And it is available now in early access. So obviously, everything we say is about this game that is in early access, therefore not in a finished state. So bear that all in mind. Anyway, there we go. We just needed to get that out of the way.
A+ disclaimer.
Thank you.
So, Factory Town. What is it? It's a game.
I was wondering whether you were asking me or setting up a rhetorical question for yourself.
So Factory Town is a game, in case you were wondering, where you're building a little town. A lot of it is automated. You could almost be a factory town. It's a really cute little game.
Yeah. So I know you dislike the way that I describe this game, but I'm going to describe it this way, and then we can argue about it afterwards. The way that I've been thinking about this game is a cross between. So it's like your traditional city builder game, like something like SimCity, which I accept there are many other types of city builders of which I have not played. So we're going with just what I know of. So something like a SimCity, but it's much more simplified than that. There's a lot less there to build, which is kind of the point. It's built around this factory rather than a bustling metropolis. But you're individually controlling the people in the town. So you're telling individual ones, I want you to go and, chop down those trees. I want you to get stone and put it in that building. I want you to take stuff to this lumber mill, stuff like that. So you are individually telling them what to do, whereas in the city building games that I have played, which, again, feel free to correct me about ones that I haven't played, you aren't individually telling people what to do, but you're kind of telling this amorphous city as a whole. These are sort of the rules, and these are what can happen, and the algorithms decide who's going to do what and who there is, whereas you're individually saying, I want to employ these kind of 10 people and I want them to do these specific things. But then the point is to gather resources and build up your town, like that.
Build up your town. There's a lot of unlocking different mechanics and tools and buildings to do different things or do the same thing faster. I can give a lecture on genres and their definitions if you want.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
I don't know whether we want to get into that or not. I guess the question...
Write in. Tweet us at THSPod and ask if you want an episode that's just me lecturing about video game genres.
We literally had an hour-long discussion about whether this was like farming games or not.
I don't think it's that different. It's not that Words are very hard. It has a lot of similar elements to farming games because city builders and farming games are all part of the same. They're both subcategories, subgenres of the larger genre of simulation games. So of course they're going to have aspects in common. I am just a very big fan of like small niche labels and subgenres and stuff like that. I mean, not just in video games, just across the board. I feel that way about a lot of topics. But this is not the Raschelle Philosophy Podcast.
Yeah.
So
it's, I guess it all stems from an issue of, I just like to include the, farming game comparison when describing this, because for me, it's not as similar to the city building games that I have played. And so I don't think it's uncommon for people to be in that sort of situation where if they have played city building games, it will be they've played SimCity or City Skyline, and that's it. I don't think that's uncommon. And so to kind of describe it as a cross between SimCity, The Sims, and Stardew Valley, I would find personally helpful as a description. But be under no illusion, it's not, first person. There aren't relationships. There's no story. The only real thing that I'm using Stardew in the comparison here, other farming games, is that you're, gathering things like wood and food and crops and stuff like that, and iron and other things.
Coal.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
Mana shards.
I have not got that far.
You didn't play in creative mode.
Well, that too. I haven't actually played in creative mode. I've just played the normal mode, and I've probably put in about 4 or 5 hours over the 2 weeks, something like that. Not a huge amount of time.
Oh my gosh.
We have very different lives.
What is this thing where I always play so much more games than you? When I said earlier I played 9 consecutive hours, that was not an exaggeration.
You can actually see half of the time that I played on Twitch, because I streamed it to Twitch. But yeah, I don't. It's not my life anymore. I don't have the time to play that amount of time, especially on a game that's on the computer. If it was on my Switch, I would probably have more time because I have a commute and it's easier to play handheld games.
I'm going to choose to believe that me having time to play lots of video games to talk about on this podcast is the reason why I don't have a significant other. I'm going to choose to believe it's for the sacrifice for the greater good.
I mean, let's forget about the fact that the podcast has been going for 3 months.
So let's talk about a little bit how this game actually runs. So you start out with a little town hall center thing and 4 tiny little people who are the smallest and cutest and bounciest of people.
Bouncy.
And your goal is to go around in your randomly generated world and you harvest resources and you use resources to build more buildings and different types of buildings. And then the more, for example, you can build houses. The more houses you build, the more people you can have. The more people you can have, the faster you can collect resources, the faster you can build more things, etc., etc.
I think it has it starts you off with a tutorial as well, which is quite a nice tutorial in that it doesn't, quite a lot of tutorials can go here's a little thing to do. Now we'll pause you and tell you some more things and then you can do a little bit more. And I always feel that kind of judderiness doesn't really work very well. Whereas the tutorial in this game is, there's a little panel at the left and it's telling you the next thing you can do, and you can read it and you can do what it says, but you can ignore it if you want. You probably won't, because that's realistically showing you the next thing that you realistically need to do, but it doesn't pause the game and say, hey, I'm putting this in your face, you need to do this now.
Yes, it is a very sleek and nicely done tutorial for sure. I like that it's not aggressive in your face and it's not too vague or anything. It's just here's your next goal. Here's a sentence or two about how you can reach that goal. Let us know when you're done. Yeah. Which is very nice. And it gives you, one of my pet peeves in tutorials is when tutorials force you to go through something step by step.
Yeah.
So like if you need to build a building, it'll say click B to open the building menu, and will not let you do anything else except for hit B. And then it'll say click here to go to the buildings option, and then will not let you do anything else except for clicking into the build. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate that. Whereas this game does what I think is really good, where it just tells you what to do and how to do it, and you can do that or not. You can click around, you can explore, you can look at different things. If you pull up the building menu, you can look both at the buildings and then also like at the people. Like, and being able to like freely in a tutorial setting kind of explore and get your bearing on your surroundings in the game, I think is a very, very good thing. And I really, really like how they designed that.
And I guess the other thing, a part of that is that not only does it not require you to do the thing that it's currently telling you, but it also spells out, so it doesn't say, like just click, B to open up the buildings menu. It says click B to open up the buildings menu, and then click on this to create this building, and then click on where you want it on the map. So it kind of just, you can read through what you need to do and then do it, rather than, as you say, saying, open up the menu and then click on this. Like, we're not, we can read through a couple of instructions and do that. And the instructions also then just stay there on the screen. So if you forget, you can look at it. So it's not trying to baby you, but also making it easy if you do forget things.
They struck a very nice balance, and it's really well done, and I love it. I love the tutorial. It was a good tutorial. Did you happen to start up a second game at any point?
I didn't have time for that. Come on. Are you going to tell us whether it goes through the tutorial again?
So actually what it did is it did not take you through the tutorial again, but it gave you like an optional scroll through box of tips. So
okay, and is that similar stuff to like what the tutorial gave you?
Yes, it was very similar stuff. So it popped up with the box of like, here's a tip box. Do you want tips? And you could choose, yes, I want tips going forward, or no, I don't want tips at all. Or you could just sit there and scroll through all the tips right from the start. And at any time you could just X out of that and start playing. And I thought that was also really nice. Just like a really quick and easy, like, do you want this? If not, go ahead. If yes, cool. And I like that. Yeah. I like the way that was designed.
Yeah, that is quite nice, because I do see myself starting up a second save, because I have learned a lot of how it works in the hours and want to completely start again and redesign what I was doing, because I was so inefficient at the beginning.
Yeah, I feel. Let's talk about efficiency.
Efficiency. Well, I like automation.
You love automation. It's like your favorite thing.
It's great. If I can automate a task in a game, I will automate that task in the game. And it's not that I don't like doing tasks, but, the point of automation is to make things quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I do... I put automation in our list as originally just as its completely separate thing, because, through the discussions we had with Stardew, obviously everyone, if you've listened to that podcast, that episode, will know that I like automating things. And this is just the automation to the extreme. Like,
automation is like the gimmick of this game.
It's its unique selling point. That's what the point of it is. Without the automation, you wouldn't really be doing much and you wouldn't get much done. Whereas, the farming games, like Stardew Valley and stuff, the point of them is to kind of muddle along in your life and try and do some stuff. And, it's not about necessarily being as efficient as possible, although that is a perfectly legitimate way to play those games. But that's not how they're kind of introduced to you, and it's not how they want to push you forward. But that is, in this, it's very definitely like, this is what the point is. And very quickly you come across things to automate things. So initially you've got your people bouncing around and doing, cutting down trees and taking it to your lumber mill, and then taking the logs to planks to
the workshop.
The workshop, that's the word.
To make wheels, workshop. And then taking the wheels to your base.
And then you create your wagons, and the wagons are really, really the first thing you come across that is, more automation. And apart from the thing that you love that we'll talk about in a minute about the carts, you no, wagons, whatever they're called, wagons, carts. Anyway, they can carry 4 things at once instead of just the one that a normal person can carry. So you're immediately, quadrupling your efficiency if you build these wagons instead of using your bouncy people. But also it's just the start of, hey, here's a whole bunch of tools you can build to make it more efficient. And you're not taking people out of the picture because you still need the people to cut down.
Carts can't cut down trees because they don't have hands.
They don't, although that would be creepy if they did. Please don't put hands on carts. So you're not getting rid of the people, but it's just making their job different. So instead of cutting down trees and then taking it to a building and then taking it from one building to another building, they can take it to a building and then your carts can take it from that building to another building, and then they can, and then you get your chutes, and then you can just get your people putting them into the chutes, and the chutes take it to the first building, and then, and there's so much you can do with it. I love it.
Ton of automation, from like transporting via chutes to later on you can get conveyor belts, you can get mine carts that run on tracks. Like, the entire point of this game is essentially like to automate as much as possible to make it just like a smooth running, fine-tuned machine of a city.
It's so pleasing.
I'm so bad at automation.
When everyone's just doing things.
I'm so bad at automation, Al. Like, I cannot tell you, like, it took me so long to consider, like, maybe I should make a cart instead of just a whole bunch of tiny people. And let me tell you, I built my first conveyor belt after 7 hours of gameplay. I do not think I have the automation instinct in me. Like, I just want all my tiny little people to do it. And then I keep like hitting my population maximum and I'm like, but I need more tiny people because I'm not making carts.
Carts don't need houses.
I mean, it does take a number out of your population count, but it's doing the work of 4 people. It is. Like, look, I am not good at automation or efficiency. It's fine. I do like it a lot, though. I think I really got more of a hang of it when, like, I made 2 or 3 different saves. Like, after my initial couple hours on my first one, I kind of felt more like I had a grasp on it, so I went and started another one. And then after that, I actually made an entire new one in creative mode, which I don't think you got to play any of, did you?
No, I didn't.
So creative mode is like you have unlimited resources and you can just build whatever you want and do whatever you want. And I think this is my jam. I really, really like just like exploring and seeing what you can do with a game. So like being able to have everything accessible to me like very easily with no effort, and to just like make things and experiment with how things can connect to each other and how things can work together. That was super, super fun to me. And I really, really got a grasp of that game after I did that for a couple hours. Having the freedom to just like do whatever I want and experiment really, really, that's what really, really got me really hooked in the game, and just like seeing all the different ways that you could figure things out and make things work. And that's my jam.
Yeah, I do think that I would enjoy playing the creative mode.
Definitely try it out, because like I don't know how far you got. I noticed when you start a new save, you can choose different terrains you want the world to generate in. And
you can choose as many or as few as you want as well, which is quite interesting. So it's not like you just choose, I want to build at the sea, or I want to build in the desert. You can say, I want these possible biomes to exist, and it will generate you in one. And then as you expand, it will generate into other types, which is quite fun.
There's definitely like 3 categories of progression you can go through in terms of unlocking things you can build. So like you start off in agricultural, where like what you can build is houses and farms and lumber mills. And then you move up to more like industrial stuff, where you're making like machinery and conveyor belts and things like that. And then after that, you move up to, I don't remember what they called it. It's very magical. You're harvesting mana shards and elemental bricks and using it to create energy grids and stuff like that to power everything you're using. And in creative mode, you can pick which one of those you want to start off with when you create a game or something like that. Or something like that. And stuff like that. So, it's really fun.
It is.
This game really sucks you in.
It sucks you in.
Look, I'm known for this. I may or may not have a problem with this. It's not just this game. Someone today in our Slack was brought up that RuneScape is available on phones now, and I was just like, oh no. Oh no, I have this exact same problem with RuneScape where I'm like, well, yes, I would like to harvest iron ore for 19 consecutive hours. That sounds delightful.
I do feel like the only reason that sort of thing doesn't happen for me in games like Stardew is because the day ends and you have to go back to bed.
Yes.
If you could just constantly, like in this game, there's no day-night cycle. It's just you're constantly doing stuff, or at least I didn't notice a day-night cycle. I might have missed it. You're just
I'm pretty
doing
sure
things.
There's not.
If I could just go into the mines in Stardew and just mine forever, I probably would lose everything.
Yeah, which is that's 100% the difference between those things, and that's 100% the reason why I don't have that problem with games like Stardew Valley and stuff, because it has a cycle of time that is noticeable, that kind of makes you aware of time passing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's much more about role-playing a life essentially, rather than obviously you're farming and you're creating things, but point is that you are a person in a place with a life. And
yeah, for sure. But the other side of that is that you can just sit there and watch your little people go and go. You can get up and make a sandwich and come back and everything will be fine.
And I love that in a game because, as you say, the automation is quite stressful at times. There were many times where I would just be like, oh wait, one of my workers is doing nothing. They're just standing there, and you figure out that, oh, it's because the building they're putting stuff into is full and they can't do anything, so they just stand there holding something. And you're like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to have a word with you about your continued employment. But then realistically, what have you lost from this situation? And the answer is not really much. You've lost some efficiency, and this worker's not been doing what they could be doing, and so you don't have as many of the thing that you're looking for. But realistically, if someone's trying to put stuff into your barn and it's full and not emptying, then actually them getting more of that thing probably wouldn't have made any difference anyway, because you're not using it for anything. So I do like how you can, just watch it, and if things don't go as efficiently, that's okay. Make it more efficient if you want. That's fine. You don't lose points. You can lose happiness. If you're running out of food or whatever, you can lose happiness. Which I did find, as a side note, I was quite confused constantly about where the happiness was coming from.
Ooh.
And okay, let me just finish my explanation and then we'll get to that then.
Yeah.
There were times where I was convinced that it should have been going up because I was, putting all these different foods into the food market and they were all buying, and then my happiness was going down and I was really confused about that. So I don't know whether you can shine some insight into what I was missing on this.
Okay. So 2 things about this. I think that first of all, there is definitely, I did not play with it very much. I just kind of took a skim, looked through it, but there is definitely an economy function to this game where at any given time, different items are worth more or less. And the happiness of the houses you create is based on what they're consuming. So if you're not really selling anything that's in demand, you're not going to get as much happiness and therefore as much money out of them. So there's that. And then on top of that, I kind of found what I found worked for me. And remember, I'm not exactly efficient, so I don't know if this is actually a good way to play this game. But if you just have houses buying from your local general store or food market, it can take a hot minute. But you can actually assign villagers to just make their job to collect things for that house. And that greatly increases.
See, I was originally delivering to the houses before I unlocked the food market. And then I unlocked the food market, and that actually increased my happiness when I did that, because instead, I guess you could get into a really efficient system, but the way that I was doing it was I couldn't have, based on my number of workers, I couldn't have all of the foodstuffs delivered to all the houses. But I could have all the foodstuffs delivered to the food market, and the houses then could buy anything from the food market, so they could get bigger variety. But I guess maybe the issue then was not that maybe they didn't want the variety and there were specific things they wanted, and maybe that's why my happiness was going down, because not all the houses were getting what they wanted. How was it you knew what they wanted?
So if you click on the house, on the bottom right, where you can upgrade the house, there's like a little bar that'll say like eating or consuming
that's what they're wanting,
this
then.
item, this item, this item. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
And it's also like, it's not just food. Like,
right. Okay.
Sometimes they want like lumber, or sometimes they want leather and stuff like that. So like,
yes, of course.
If you don't have a general store, they're not getting those things. Whereas, like, if you have people collecting things for the houses, they can go and collect leather from wherever leather is in the town.
Of course, right. So, because this is one thing that I keep forgetting and I never take advantage of, is that, so you can either say to a person, take this item from this building to this building. Or there are some quite nice things where you can tell it to do more, less specific things, and just say, take something from this building somewhere else, or take something from this building to this building, or take something to this building. So I guess what you're doing is you're saying to this, you're not saying take a specific thing from, your general store to the house. You're
rather than
just saying take something, and they will go get what's in demand. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So you can literally, and this isn't just like with houses, like, for example, like your workshop, if you set it to like create, say, conveyor belts, which need 3 or 4 items, rather than clicking on your base and saying, bring wagon wheels to the workshop, you can say, click on the workshop, gather all the items necessary for this, and they'll just go out and get it from wherever.
I knew that I would end up regretting not really using that functionality. But that would probably improve things quite a bit, because I was being very specific, because it's typical of me. I didn't trust the algorithms for getting what I wanted, and so...
Well, it doesn't always work out nicely, though, because, for example, if you tell a villager to, say, go and get wheat for the food market, you can actually completely deplete all the wheat in your land and not save any, so you can't create a farm, and then just not have wheat. Like, that kind of happened to me once. So, like, it's not necessarily always the ideal situation, because when you tell them to get it from anywhere, they will get it from anywhere until it's not possible anymore.
I guess that's kind of slightly different, though, because that's natural resources. Whereas if you're asking things to, things that you've already harvested or created, you have much more kind of control over where these things come from, because you're only going to be making them from specific places.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a good rule to use. Don't just generically ask them to get anything of a... Just go get me all the rocks.
I mean, you can. You just need to make sure. Well, because the thing is that part of the automation is that you have the ability to essentially make your resources unlimited. So like a really good example is the farming mechanics in this game. You can build a farm and then you can build around the farm different plots of the different types of crops you can collect. So like you have to collect them from the broader world first. So like if you collect some wheat and stick some wheat in your base and then maybe some berries in your base and then like maybe some apples in your base, you can actually create little farm plots around your farm of this is the wheat square and this is the berry square and this is the carrot square. And the way farms work is that they will automatically harvest any crop resources that are within X amount of squares around them and then regrow them. So if you have it put into your farm, you can constantly regrow food and essentially have a never-ending supply, even though it pauses every now and then when it needs to regrow.
I'm going to lose my life to this game.
But you have to collect it from the outer world first. You have to collect it from the wild first, and if you deplete your entire resource pool before you collect it, then you're a little screwed over. Also, build your farms on the water.
Yeah.
They need water.
The water's... I love how you can say, like, there's a pool of fish in, like, the middle of a big lake where mine is. But for fishing, the little worker just pops up to the side of the water and gets fish. And it's like, but the fish was miles out. How did you manage to get the fish when you're right up at the... Well, anyway, minor point.
Right? I will say, one thing I never quite figured out is I finally got boat building. And I built a boat. And I was like, boat, go fish. And it went. And it got some fish. And it doesn't know where to take it. And I have not figured out how to figure out where the boat takes fish. Because it can't go on land because it's a boat. Oh my gosh. I'll figure it out eventually. I haven't played long enough to figure out all the mechanics, but like that's a good thing.
Yes, that is definitely a good thing, that you don't know everything about the game.
It means it has a long playtime value. So, because I definitely sunk like, I want to say 10 or 12 hours in. So, it has cute little bouncy people.
It does.
They're real cute.
We might just keep mentioning the bouncy
little
people.
like pill-shaped people, and they just bouncy, bouncy, bounce, bounce, bounce all around the world. Yeah. It's so adorable.
I love how they're just so low fidelity. You're just like, yeah, I know what it is. It's a person. I don't care that it doesn't have arms and legs.
It's a person. It's a little bouncy person. I will say though, all the bouncy people are white, and I feel like it would not have been that hard to change their little face colors just randomly. This has been Diversity in Gaming with Raschelle.
Yeah, I guess it, in itself, I suspect, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but I suspect nobody is going to look at this game and go, I don't see, my role model in this game, because that's not the sort of thing you're playing this game for. But it does worry me a little bit, because it implies to me that nobody thought of that on the team.
Yeah.
And so you do just have to have a little think about, what does that mean about, the I don't know. I don't want to.
It reinforces a status quo of white as default, which is not necessarily
No, and I don't think we're trying to imply anything about, the opinions of the team.
It's just one of those things where it's like, it seems like it shouldn't matter because like they're tiny pill people bopping around, but you have to take it in the context of the broader world around it, you know what I mean? And the broader world around it has a habit of erasing people of color in media, you know what I mean? So even if they have the best of intentions, even if they're great people, you can passively contribute to that.
Agreed. We want non-white pill people. Bouncy people.
It has to be all of the shades of people, because also on the other end, if they made them like all black people whose jobs it is to harvest resources, that would be really awful.
I somehow feel like that's worse.
So like it would be really awful, but they could really easily like just have a random generator of like 5 or 6 different skin tones, and just every time you create a person, it's just a random face color. But yeah, I thought of that while I was first bringing it up. I was like, oh no, wait.
Yes, good catch.
I want all the diversity so we can avoid...
We're making a slave town.
Tiny pill people slavery.
Oh dear. I do.
Oh,
There is part of me that finds it very funny that you create this economy, which is I'm employing people, and then we're building things, and then they're paying me to buy the things that we're building. But it's a completely closed system. I feel like it's probably not the best system for the workers.
I mean, I don't know. They're maybe in their society they just do it because it's a heavily communal based society, and they believe that it is their duty in life to contribute to furthering the good of the society.
So what you're saying is that the money in the system is not owned by a profit-making company, but is communal and owned by everyone, and that's why we don't actually give them any wages. It's because they're using the money that's coming out of the communal money.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. I'll feel better about it that way.
Okay, so this is why city builders do not focus on story. It gets real uncomfortable real fast.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's favorite game, capitalism. Anyway, okay, I do like that, like, you have an entire category in your building menu that is people, and you can make regular little people, but also carts are people, and boats are people.
Carts are people
and
too.
Mine carts are people. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of delightful.
Yes. I think is it not workers that it calls them?
Yes, it calls them workers.
Just, sorry, I don't mean to ruin it for you. No, it calls them
workers, and I just think it's a fun little grouping. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I like it. It makes a lot of sense, like, logistically. Like, they are the base units that function and move things around. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I can buy a new type of person. And I went to go buy a new type of person, and it was a cart. And I was like, I respect this. Like, okay, you're right. Carts are people.
So, obviously, this game is in early access, and we were playing it before it was in early access as well, so I think there were a few other things that have improved since then, although I've definitely played it since some updates came in, which they added in a auto path generator for shoots and stuff like that, which makes life so much easier. I love that feature. It was a great addition. But obviously, because it's early access, there are some bits and pieces here and there that just don't feel perfect. But the good thing about it being early access is it means that these might end up being fixed at some point. Whereas typically when a game is just released, you're probably never going to get it. One thing that frustrated me quite a bit is once you build a building, you can't move it. I did find that you can delete them.
Okay. How do you delete a building? Because I literally never figured this out.
I'd need to boot up the game to do that, and that will just kill my machine if I'm recording and booting it up at the same time. But I think it was in the... So, there's a section for changing the ground. You can flatten ground and stuff like that. I think it's in that menu. There definitely is. I've definitely deleted buildings. Okay,
I'm going to have to figure it out, because, like, I could delete paths. I could delete chutes. I could not figure out how to delete buildings. I couldn't even move buildings.
Maybe is it possible that there are specific types of buildings you can delete? I can't remember what building I deleted. I did only delete one building. So it's possible that it's only specific types of buildings you can delete. I think it was a house I deleted.
Interesting. Because even when I was in like creative mode and I was plopping a whole bunch of stuff down, like I couldn't... There is a move tool, but it wouldn't let me move anything. It would let me move like workers,
right?
But not buildings.
Yeah, I think we're talking about this with neither of us looking at the game, but there definitely was a button that allowed me to delete houses in non-creative mode, and you don't think you get anything back from them. You don't gain any of the stuff that you use to build it, but I hated the organization that I did in the beginning.
I feel. Yeah, that was definitely a negative for me, where like I would have really liked to have been able to reorganize things, because at the beginning the world is just like filled with tons of like natural resources, and you kind of have to build around them, and then eventually when you clear that out, so you're little town is not split in half by a giant forest. Like, everything is weird and sprawling.
Yeah. And you know, I'm totally fine if you have to pay to move them. But yeah, it would be nice.
I just want to be able to move them at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you may be able to, and I just didn't figure it out. In which case, they could use to make that a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah, if anybody's played the game and you've figured that out, let us know. Although maybe don't let Raschelle know, because then she'll just get sucked back in again.
I have problems. Anyway, one of my problems, one pet peeve I had, I don't know if you noticed this. So you can scroll through the entire thing. You have an overhead view, and you can scroll through the world either with your keyboard, ASDW, or with your mouse. And when you scroll with your mouse, it just zooms.
Yeah.
Like, you barely hit the edge of the screen with your mouse, and all of a sudden you're like halfway across the world.
Yeah, I definitely had that issue. And, you know, it was so bad for me that I turned off that option, because you can turn that off in the settings. You can just say, I just want to use the keyboard to move around. Which I was doing anyway. I wasn't using the mouse at all, but I would, well, for moving around the map, but I would accidentally move it to the screen, and then suddenly I was halfway across the world. So because I wasn't using it, and it didn't work for me, I removed that. So yeah, it could either be toned down a little bit, or maybe have an option to change the sensitivity. But I still probably wouldn't use it. I liked using the keyboard.
Yeah, I did too. The biggest thing is that the only thing I ended up using a mouse for in that regard is you can change the angle at which you're viewing things. So, like, you can change it so that you're looking straight down, or change it so that you have a view more in line with, like, the ground and things like that. And I would do that with the mouse, especially when I was trying to find some hidden villager somewhere. Wow. Villager. I am hardcore, like, personifying these workers.
It's all right. That's better than when I was streaming. I just kept gendering them. Oh.
That's
they are.
Humans are hard, okay? But that's the only thing I use the mouse for in terms of navigation. I like scrolling with ASDW. You can rotate with, what is it, Q&E?
Q&E, yeah. Yeah, that worked quite well. I didn't do the changing the angle very much. But I rotated quite a bit. Yeah. Which was useful.
What else? I think they could stand to make it easier to, like, navigate through your little bouncy people. So, like, if you're looking for, say, where's an idle worker so I can have them chop down some wood, you can either visually scan and hope you find something, which is not suggested because this game gets visually complex very quickly. Or they do have, like, a little people menu that'll show you all your people and what they're doing, but you have to open it. You can click on a guy and it'll take you to them, but then you have to manually close the people menu to do anything, and then you have to click on the person and tell the person what to do. And it would be a lot easier, I think, if, like, it just did that automatically. Like, you clicked on the person and the menu went away and you're at the person, and then you can just select what to do from there.
Yeah, what I think could work really well is instead of having it as, like, a modal that pops up and then you click on one, having it, you know, there's a lot of things around the kind of side and corners, and it could get a little bit busy, but I think, you know, if at, like, the right-hand side or something, you just had this little panel that had a list of all your people, and, you know, it was sorted somehow. Great. So obviously, you know, people that weren't doing anything were filtered to the top, which would be quite nice. And you'd click on it, and then it would just take you to the person, and you wouldn't need to close anything, and it wouldn't need to close anything because it's just always there at the side. I think that would be quite nice.
That would be great. The option to sort it by different, like, sort it by idle or sort it by people who are attached to, say, like, what building they're working with. Or stuff, I mean,
obviously that bit's a bit more involved and would include a lot more work. But I think even just the, having it as a panel at the side rather than popping up on the screen probably wouldn't be too much work. Obviously, it's all still work, but it wouldn't be too much, and it would be a massive quality of life improvement.
Yes, agreed.
I did, as a related to that, whenever I closed the people menu after clicking one, I was always confused as to whether I still had the person selected or not. So I would sometimes just try and do the thing, or I would sometimes try and click on the person again. And that would really confuse me as to how I was doing it. So sometimes I would end up accidentally sending someone to do something, or tell them to stop doing what they were doing and not tell them to do something else.
Or go grab that wood, but don't take it anywhere.
Just stand there with it.
Just grab it. I feel. I did that all the time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think those were most of the, issues that we had. And I think it's important to note that these are mostly small issues. They don't ruin the game. It's still a really fun game. You still sunk a stupid amount of time into it, despite these small issues.
Okay, I have a problem. Two last things I wanted to note. First of all, the music is pretty good. I like the music.
Did I not write this down?
Good.
The music is amazing. I need to find if the soundtrack is somewhere to buy, because I could just listen to that all day.
It's very pleasant to listen to. And my only pet peeve with it is that every now and then you hit the end of a track and it gives you like maybe 5 or 10 seconds of silence. And that would actually unnerve me. I would stop and be like, oh gosh, what's going on?
It's too much silence.
So
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So that, and then I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know if you happen to see. I feel like I saw that you could remap your controls in the settings.
Yes. I didn't look too much into that because I was happy with the controls, but I think there was some sort of level of remapping.
I'm pretty sure there was an option. Don't quote me on that. But if so, that's good. I like that a lot. That's very good for like gaming accessibility for like people who can't reach certain keys and stuff. So like that's a very good inclusion. It's good on for hearing disabilities. So like there's no sound clues or anything that are reliant upon the game. Everything is in text. The text I think could stand to be a little bigger and a little bolder. But for the most part, it's good on that front. I'm pretty sure there's nothing like if you have color blindness or anything, there's nothing that's going to be unplayable for you or be hard for you. Like the colors seem fine and distinct.
Yeah, and if there is, it's probably that life is probably difficult for you as well because of the, so much is similar to how the real life colors are because you've got your grass and your sea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is not something to be scoffed at, but
I mean, like in the regards of like, so there's nothing that's color dependent. So for example, there's nothing that says, oh gosh, I don't remember what the types of color blindness are. Red and green. I'm pretty sure red and green is one. Common, yeah. So like there's nothing that says like you have to click on the red thing. Like there's nothing that's color dependent on that. So like if you can't distinguish two different colors or see certain colors, you're not failing. Nothing is made harder for you. Accessibility in those terms. It's a pretty good game accessibility wise is what I'm trying to say. And that's a good thing.
I agree.
So, Al,
that is good.
Factory Town, play or don't play?
Definitely play. I think it's a good fun game, especially if you enjoy any, city builder games or anything like that. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time playing Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff like that, which is not obviously the same as this, but it's a similar sort of thing where you're managing something, and I really liked it, and I will probably spend a lot more time playing it, and if we hadn't got the codes, I would definitely have bought it. Play. Raschelle, what about you? Play or don't play?
I really enjoyed this game. I'm going to say play this game if you do not have addiction problems that would be heavily influenced by this type of game. So it's a really good game. I would pay money for this game. Like seriously, I would. It's very good. It's
not an expensive game at all. I think it's currently 10% off in the Steam stores. It's about £13 or something.
It's less than $20. That's a heckin' steal. It's a good game.
It's good.
Thank you to the developers for giving us review codes. I'm going to invent a rating, and I'm going to give this game a solid, I'm going to give it 6 out of 8 corn cobs.
I like it.
Play this game. It's good.
So, as we said, we'll have the link to the Steam page in our show notes. If you have also played it, let us know what you think. If there's anything that we missed that you thought was important, let us know. Do that. You can do that by going to our website, harvestseason.club, and sending us an email. Or you can tweet us at THSpod on Twitter.
Or you can tweet me at Miss Delaney with 2 L's.
Or if you want to talk to me for some reason, you can tweet me at the ScottBot. That's Scott with 1 T.
Or you can organize a parade in your local town dedicated solely to farming games and hope it gets to us through the news. Too high standards?
I probably wouldn't come because I don't have that kind of money, unless it's near me.
What,
obviously.
you just you wouldn't pay to fly out and get a hotel to see a farming game parade in Des Moines, Iowa or something?
Never say never. Is Iowa nice? The silence says everything.
I've never been to Iowa. No, I've never been to Iowa. I don't know. I've been to a number of states, but not to Iowa. So, sorry, Iowa. Des Moines is the first place I thought of. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'll never mention you again.
Thank you for listening.
This is going downhill real fast. Let's end the episode. So, thanks for listening, everyone, and have a good harvest.
Have a good harvest.
Woo. The Harvest Season is created by Raschelle Delaney and Al McKinley. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, theharvestseason.club, for show notes, including links to things we discussed and transcripts for every episode. Thanks for listening.
Did you just shush me?
Shh.
Or are you deflating? I'm not. It's one or the other. Well, I think we've got our outtake.
Honestly, though, that is a pure existential question. Am I shushing someone or am I deflating? Oh man. Okay. My inner ex-philosophy major is just the answer is yes. Isn't all of the human condition either shushing or deflating?